Okay, cruise control on this truck turns off, turns on, turns off. It's real weird. If it cuts off, it may cut back on immediately. It may not come back on for however long. It's real weird. I've done everything I can, and I believe I've narrowed it down to the Clockspring. It's on a 2004 Dodge Ram pickup. On this pickup right here, 2004 Dodge Ram with the diesel motor. Okay, first thing we got to do is pull this tilt lever knob off. It just pulls right off. There's nothing that holds it. Grab it and go. And up underneath here, you've got some torque screws that have to come out. The one in this hole and the one in this hole are T25. For whatever reason, the one in this hole is T15. I have no earthly idea why. God only knows. Then once you get those screws out, this piece right here just pops off. I have to lower the steering wheel. Get the top piece off. And then raise your steering wheel back up to pop the lower one off. You got to get it around this ignition switch. So just pull it out and go down. Just work it off of there, just like that. Okay, on the back of the steering wheel, you got two holes, one on each side. I don't know how well you can see that. And up in there's 10mm bolts. You just have to get those out. You may have to turn your steering wheel a little bit to get to it. And once you get those bolts out, you should just be able to pull your airbag up. And be careful, don't just grab it and jerk, because there's wires on the back of it. They have to be disconnected. Your airbag wires, your horn. I'm taking these airbag clips, just take a pair of needle nose pliers and squeeze in on the two tabs, and they'll pop right out. Just like that. Once you get all those wires disconnected, just lay that aside. Now we've got these wires undone. We got to get that guy out. Okay. And this bolt's a 13mm. Played out. And now we're going to need a puller, maybe. Might be able to get it without a puller. You grab it and just rock back and forth. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this thing so I know exactly where to put it back, unless it has different size splines. Looks like this one does. It has a big one right there, so it can only go back on one way. Oh. Yeah, it can only go back on that way. And there's that. And we got 2 Phillips screws here and here. I've got my steering wheel almost straight. When I put the new Clockspring in, I need to make sure this is pointed at my tachometer. That's the way it was. I'll have to verify that the new spring is set up correctly. Once you get your steering wheel off, you still have those 2 connectors under there. Just reach under there and squeeze the tab on the back, and they'll pop right out. Then your clock spring should come right off. Just like that. Okay, we're ready to put the new one back on. Line it up with this dowel pin right here and your 2 screw holes. Now we're going to put the steering wheel back on. You see this tab? This keeps your clock spring clocked in the right position. You don't want to pull that out until your steering wheel is back on in the right spot. Which I guess right now is a good time to then you put it on. Plug that back in. This back on. That bolt back in. Put the airbag back in. Reassemble this. Put your 10 millimeters back in the back. Put this thing back together. all done. And it works like a champ. That's what it was. Okay, the curiosity got the best of me. I wanted to see what made this fail. And if you look at this thing, see how that got this piece right here? That sits down in this thing. That sits down in here and turns. It was rubbing on the corner of that right there. And if you look, let me get this thing to focus, you can see where it rubbed the connector in two right there on the bottom. It rubbed them more in two, and that must have been what was. Let me see if I can put this thing back together and show you better. I'm going to do my best to show you what happened here. If you look at this, when this turns, not sure if you can see it, but as it rotates, if you look down the back here, let me see. If you look at this piece back here, and it's right here, the bottom of this, it's this piece right here. See, it turns. Well, this doesn't, and this turns. There's a piece of there's as it's out. Well, as this was rotating in there, this edge was rubbing on the bottom of that. It was actually down behind it like that, and it was rubbing on it as the steering wheel turned, and it cut through. I don't know how good this is going to come out on camera, but it cut through right here. That line right there is cut in two right there, and that's your problem.